This is a 5-minute update. This is a 5-minute update for April 3rd, 2009. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed above 8,000 for the first time since February 9th, 2009. The financials were the most active and they were all up, with Bank of America leading the way. Both General Motors and Ford were higher on Friday. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were lower. News on the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is taking credit for the uptick. After describing three programs, Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke said, "As best we can tell, these programs are working." The three programs are: number one, the Federal Reserve handed out $860 billion in short-term loans to banks struggling with liquidity. Number two, they provided $255 billion to unfree securitization markets of credit cards, student loans, and auto loans. Number three, in an effort to improve the mortgage lending market, the Fed created $1.25 trillion to purchase mortgage-backed securities, toxic assets. Ben Bernanke made his statements at the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond. The Federal Reserve Bank. They were holding the 2009 Credit Markets Symposium inside the Charlotte, North Carolina branch. The Richmond Fed has 3 branches, including one in Charlotte, one in Richmond, and one in Baltimore. He presented the audience with a presentation of the Federal Reserve balance sheet. Ron Paul plans to audit the Fed. The Federal Reserve has been accused of creating booms and busts since its creation in 1913. During the bust times, they have been accused of providing funds so that their member banks are able to purchase assets at fire sale prices. For example, Bank of America was able to buy Merrill Lynch with assistance from the Fed. JP Chase was able to buy Bear Stearns with a $400 billion line of credit from the Federal Reserve. Or $40 billion line of credit from the Federal Reserve. There has been a lot of money thrown around since the financial crisis started. Bloomberg News has requested information from the Federal Reserve under the Freedom of Information Act concerning $2 trillion in loans made to member banks like JP Chase and Bank of America. Their request was denied under the auspices of the Federal Reserve is not a government agency and does not have to comply with the Freedom of Information Act. Bloomberg hit a dead end, and the Fed refused to disclose any information about the transactions. Texas Congressman Ron Paul has begun a campaign of his own to gather information about the Federal Reserve. The Federal Open Market Committee meetings are held in secret, and they have been less than transparent, according to the congressman. The FOMC determines interest rates and money supply. Very powerful committee, and that's the main committee of the Federal Reserve. It is all about the timing. Paul has been challenging the Federal Reserve for years and warning Americans about its power. 2 years ago, he would not have gathered the support that he has today. H.R. 1207 now has 55 co-sponsors. According to John Tate with the Campaign for Liberty, a 501c nonprofit working for liberty, the outrage of bonuses paid to employees of AIG, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac has prompted public support, which in turn has brought the support of members in Congress. Don't underestimate the Federal Reserve, though. The 12 bank districts are basically controlled by large member banks who are paid a 6% dividend from the profits of the Fed. There was an attempt on President Andrew Jackson's life after he dismantled our second central bank. The Federal Reserve is our third central bank. President Kennedy supported the creation of an alternative currency to the Federal Reserve notes. Executive Order 11110 called for the Treasury to issue silver certificates against all silver held by the government which did not already have certificates against it. The order would have allowed the government, not the Federal Reserve, to produce money. There was opposition to this order, and it was scuttled after his death. Abraham Lincoln also defied the gold and banking interests by issuing greenbacks, which were backed by silver. The United States was rich in silver, but poor in gold at that period. In commodities news, May futures in gold were lower today, closing at $896.50 per ounce on the New York Mercantile Exchange. Silver was also lower, closing at $12.73 per ounce. Gold inversely follows the dollar, and when the dollar is strong, gold prices suffer. The dollar seems to be stabilizing against the euro for the past few days. The euro was trading at 0.74 per US dollar. The dollar has gained against the Japanese yen over the past few days as well, to 99.48 yen per dollar late Thursday. Last Friday the rate was 98.49 per yen, or per dollar, excuse me. Oil fell slightly Friday after surging to $52.64 on Thursday. On Friday, May light sweet crude oil futures closed at $52.51. This has been a 5-minute update. Remember to subscribe to our videos. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel.